Welcome to the Infrastructure Podcast. My name is Anthony Oliver, and today we are recording another episode live at UKREiiF, the UK Real Estate Investment and Infrastructure Forum in Leeds. My guest today is Louisa Finlay, Chief Operating Officer and Chief People Officer at contractor Kier Group. Our conversation today will build on a panel session that she hosted to discuss the construction sector's digital mindset and skills needed to power up infrastructure delivery, because the reality is that the construction sector has long been criticised as a digital laggard and remains tethered to legacy processes. However, this narrative is rapidly shifting. We are moving on from an era of digital experimentation. Today, the use of data and digital technology is no longer an optional efficiency driver, but a core commercial imperative. Tier 1 contractors and their supply chains face mounting pressures to deliver complex infrastructure under tighter regulatory and financial scrutiny, and in response, the modern construction landscape is being reshaped, like it or not, by cloud-based platforms, generative AI, predictive analytics, and digital twins. Yet, the true barrier to this revolution is rarely technical. Instead, the industry is grappling with the need for cultural change, a widening skills gap, then deeply entrenched commercial structures that actively disincentivize data sharing. So to unlock the value of technology, the sector must treat data not as an exhaust product of construction, but as a critical asset with its own life cycle. So let's find out what Louisa is doing about these challenges. Louisa, welcome to the Infrastructure Podcast.
Thank you so much.
Well, Louisa, I really enjoyed the panel session we had earlier at the UKREiiF show, but let's get some realities on the table. I mean, digital technology promises everything from enhanced productivity to better safety, but where would you say it is delivering the most undeniable commercial value to your bottom line right now, and where is it still failing to live up to the hype?
So I can give you some real examples of where it really is delivering to the bottom line. If you take something as simple as drone technology, I was on one of our projects the other day where we're repairing and supporting a dam up near Macclesfield. And on a daily basis, we can send a drone out there to check on progress, to take specific readings on quality. And moving forward, we're looking at being able to use it to support our safety drive. And I was being presented to by a senior site manager, somebody who hadn't been brought up with digital tools. And he was able to show a week ago and now to show what had been different. That was for quality, for paying people, for being paid, and just to generally be able to check that the work's with the right standards. So there are real use cases where we are adding value because we are embracing digital.
Anywhere where it's not delivering quite so well, failing to live up to the hype as I suggested?
So I think we've got to make sure our data is right. We have, over the years, gathered huge amounts of data, which then generally needs to be manipulated to make it useful. So we're absolutely investing in a Microsoft data platform, really good data products, Purview, Databricks, to make sure we've got a single source of data, it's named properly, and then our people can find out what they need to know by self-serving. But right now, we are on that journey, and we're going to be resolving it in chunks so people can get the benefit as quickly as possible.
When we spoke on the panel earlier, we talked about metrics. Are there 3 data metrics that you would put on a universal dashboard that kind of clients, contractors and the supply chain would all accept as demonstrating the value of that data?
So I think if you link, why are we doing this? And we're doing this to drive productivity. So there needs to be a metric which relates to, you can do it to revenue per full-time person, you can do it to profit per full-time person, but it needs to be some big chunky metrics to prove that productivity. I think you need to have some metrics to also prove efficiency. So can you have metrics that you're reducing rework, for example? So if you can be measuring a defect and you can be showing how having the right information at the right time or using those digital tools can reduce it, that would be a second one. And probably while we're rolling out, I would be having something that measured the training. I wouldn't make that a long-term metric, but I think as you're rolling out a lot of these new tools, that behavioural change, that training, that reskilling needs to be measured along with adoption of the agreed tools, because at a point in time, that's really important.
Yeah, because in your business, it's important that those skills, those necessary skills, all that training is rolled out from the bottom right to the top.
Absolutely. I
mean, are there, conversely, I suppose, are there any kind of vanity metrics that you might banned from board reports.
And I think probably one of the challenges the industry faces, and this isn't just Kier, this is probably not just construction, is people hear about a shiny digital tool and that's the one they want. So you end up with fragmentation. You don't end up with an end-to-end solution or a system solution. And what we need to do is avoid that. We need to be clear that we've got, these are the tools we use, we can support, we can train, we can ensure they're updated. So my metric that I would ban is number of tools. If anything, that is the opposite of what we're trying to do.
Right. Well, when we're looking at major technical investments, I mean, how, as a person in charge of the businesses, how do you ensure that the cost of deploying that technology on a project doesn't outweigh the actual efficiency gains realised by the project team?
So we've actually been doing a lot of work to understand what our major pain points are. So where are our challenges? And we've spent time with our people. We've then come up with a 6-point plan, which is the areas that can most efficiently address those pain points. And then against each of those, we know what the cost is, and we have got targeted value returns, both. So one-off costs, one-off returns, and then year-on-year costs and year-on-year returns. And so with each of them, it is measuring those metrics to ensure it does add the value. But it isn't just in money. We've got to be, some of those metrics will be retention of people. That is a key metric, because if people love their jobs, they'll stay. If people find it clunky and gluey, they'll go. So it is not just financial metrics.
But money does matter. Contractors have notoriously low margins in this business, and every digital rollout carries risk, whether it's software obsolescence or implementation downtime. How do you balance the risk of being a first mover who adopts and invests in this technology against the risk of being a laggard who gets left behind?
So I would suggest we're certainly not the ones going out and trying something for the first time. We will generally be second or third adopters, but we're not a laggard. So I think, we're not going to go out and trailblaze. But we do need to have a business case each time we do it. And that is critical. And there also needs to be real honesty about, what is the cost involved? What is the commitment to people? And I think sometimes people sort of try and set it up to be on the edge of the desk. You can't do that. It needs to have proper commitment of resources.
And that comes down to really understanding what the value is. And there are organisations like National Highways who have explicitly valued their data as a multi-billion-pound corporate asset. I mean, does the wider construction sector truly understand the financial value of its data?
I don't think so, not yet. I think people are absolutely awake to we need to be getting data right. I think once we've got that data set up and people start seeing the benefit that insights bring, the benefits that we change to our processes, that will change. Yeah.
So do you think contractors are routinely leaving millions of unrealised assets and the value from those assets on the table?
I don't. Do I think we're going to be live to ensuring we don't moving forward? Yes.
Yeah. Are you a digital convert yourself?
Oh yeah, love it. I think it comes down to if there's anything that can make you better at what you do, make you quicker, make you enjoy it more, you should embrace it. So I'm an engineer. I'm ludicrously curious. I love learning, and that would be a huge skill I think everyone should have, is the want to continue learning. And the digital space is our next frontier. And I think people have just got to open their minds, embrace it, and see where we can get to.
So you're fully Apple watched up, Apple phoned up, tableted.
Yeah.
Favorite bit of tech?
Probably my Whoop, actually, because it's making me sleep better.
Your Whoop. So I don't know what it is.
At a later point in life, I've discovered the gym and I've discovered getting fit. And somewhere between my Apple Watch and my Whoop just really drive me to keep going. But the Whoop is about sleep and sleep quality. It's really interesting. The only thing I'd say to you is the one thing that is the constant that affects your sleep is a small glass of wine. So that's the only sad bit.
Oh, fair enough. All right. Let's talk about mindset shift and digital adoption. I mean, what would you say is hindering digital progress?
I think I've mentioned it before. It's getting behind the plan. And I think for leaders not to believe they need to have all the answers. It's to be open, understand that they're not going to be the cleverest person in the room, and that those traditional hierarchy triangles might change. And it's that curiosity piece, the mindset about being curious, about being a bit vulnerable, that you might not be the cleverest person in the room, which is uncomfortable to quite a lot of people, and realising that actually it might be that QS on that project that comes up with something that could absolutely transform Kier, and being open to listening.
Yeah. So it's often said, Louisa, that changing human behaviour is far harder than implementing software. What for you is the most critical cultural shift required to unlock digital value in a business like Kier?
Well, I mean, the first thing I'd say is we did, as part of moving from Survive to Thrive, we did a whole cultural programme. And to be honest, the culture in Kier is good. We have a really good supportive culture. We have a collaborative culture. So I don't believe it's a cultural shift. This is definitely mindset, and it's definitely embracing something that's uncomfortable. It is being curious. And actually realising that this is a leadership behaviour. Technology is an enabler, but if leaders are curious and enable their people, we'll get there.
Yeah, because Kier's business it's a variety of different things, but there's a lot of stuff that's based on site where people might say, well, what's it got to do with me? Why does it impact my job? I mean, how do you deal with that kind of attitude?
Well, and to be honest, I've been going round onto our sites. I'm a site person, so it's lovely. I've got an excuse to go. And so talking to the people on the ground, and as they say, if they can have a digital tool that means that people get trained about the safety on site before they come, that releases their time. If they can have a digital tool that enables them to take drawings or key information onto site, or enables them to find information really quickly when they're out and about, it makes their lives easier. And I think particularly with knowledge, as a business of our size, you will have systems that can appear and lots of information. If we can have something that makes it really quick and easy for them to do their jobs. So it's about being out on site and saying, where are your pain points? And then addressing those before anything else.
Yeah. And it's interesting it says, because you have the experience of, was it 38 years you've been at Kier?
I joined when I was 6. It's fine.
No, but you're in your career at Kier, you have been out on site. You've been all the way through to the
site
board.
engineer.
Well, tell me, what are the highlights? What kind of kept you at Kier?
Do you know what? I've never been bored. I've built everything from big museums to schools to hospitals. But it's the people the people that are on a construction site are the best ever. People. When I first went on site, I was the only girl. Why am I still here? Because it's the guys I work with. They were fab. They wanted you to learn. They want you to succeed. And I think that's culturally amazing.
But 38 years, there must be something about the culture of the business, is it? Or is it just simply that they do some really exciting projects?
I think it's a bit of all of that. I think the culture, and it really interesting. I bumped into someone this morning at UKREiiF, and she's supporting us with we're setting up some female cohorts to ensure that we don't lose that. We support females to succeed in the business because we want really cognitive diversity. And she said, wow, the people in Kier are lovely. Yeah. And I don't ask. She says they are they're curious, they're keen, they're supportive. But it is also, I've worked on everything, as I said, from schools to award-winning laboratories to bridges. It's the variety and location and people.
Also intrigued by the fact that you started off as a sponsored student.
Yeah.
Is that a route which you would recommend today?
So we literally go out into schools to tell people about every route into the industry. We offer work experience. We work with Build UK and do open doors so people can come and see it. What I would recommend, I love apprenticeships. I absolutely do. My son graduated from university with lots and lots of debt, but that was the right route for him. But if you can work be it a trade apprenticeship or a degree apprenticeship, just come and you'll be ahead of the people at university by year 3 because you'll be working on the job. You'll be richer, and you'll be part of that community straight away. So, but we also do huge campaigns because the trouble is in schools they be a doctor, a medic, and a plumber, sometimes occasionally a hairdresser, but rarely will they say go and be a digital engineer on a construction site. And when we show people that love gaming that they can work in 3D BIM every day of their lives and design a building 3 years before we build it and work out all the problems, they want to come and work for us.
So you're really, really, really busy, Louisa. What do you get up to when you're not running a multi-billion-pound contractor?
So I work hard, I play hard. I love travelling. I got back from India. My son actually agreed to come with me. and we had a full 2-week trip. And last year I was lucky enough to climb Kilimanjaro. You need to fill every hour with learning something new, doing something new.
Presumably lots of training for that.
There was quite a lot of training for that, which has got me quite addicted to the gym. So I'm thinking about what my next sort of physical challenge might be, but we shall see.
What is your next physical challenge?
Well, I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about doing a high rocks, but I think that's a bit scary.
High rocks?
Yeah.
All right. Well, they do say that people who do high rocks talk about doing high rocks.
Yeah. Well, I don't think I will. I will do one and I will probably die. But there you go. We shall see. You
also did some studies at Side Business School. That's critical for you to understand the business side of contracting.
It was absolutely brilliant. I did a week on their AI strategy and leadership course. And to be honest, I hadn't been at uni for a long time. I was quite worried about full-time learning. It was fantastic. It was 5 days, sort of 8 till 6 plus evenings. It was about how do you ensure that you don't get hoodwinked by vendors, you add value. But it was also the basics of understanding AI, digital, and really how you can make it an enterprise decision. So,
well, back to that digital world, and a lot of your senior site teams, I imagine, I don't know, do they push back? Do they resist changing the methods that they've been using for years and years?
Yeah, sometimes I think change is hard. You've got to have a really compelling reason to do change, and that's our job.
Yeah.
If you can show a use case, if you can have an interview with someone else who's also at their same level to say what they've done, if you can make it acceptable for people to fail, you're much more likely to get people on board.
Yeah, but that arguably is a criticism that construction and infrastructure is faced frequently.
Yeah.
We're not embracing digital. I mentioned it being a laggard. You look at aerospace, automotive, retail, really mastering digital supply chains years ago. Well, which industry should construction, I suppose, look to right now to learn from?
I think we are constantly learning from lots of different industries. So, if you look at car manufacturing, when we were doing the first big prisons and we did everything off-site, we certainly learned from their technologies. And we've now worked in alliance with the MOJ to continue, and we're building HMP Glasgow now. And you've got absolute repeatability. You know exactly how long it will take to manufacture a house block, to build a house block. The quality will be right. The building services are right. But then even more importantly, because it's all built in a model, you then can monitor those services to support the MOJ with rehabilitation. Because if you get the environments right and the environments for people to succeed and then be moved out of prison, come and work with us, be it on our programs, we can reduce people reoffending and things like that. So it's properly really looking at the value add and the outputs.
What are the outcomes you're getting from that investment? Digital tools, they do require this seamless flow of information. There's a lot of operational silos, perhaps. How do we break down those walls between design, procurement, and site execution, and collaborate more to get that data flowing?
Yeah, it's from day one. If you get people involved, and I'm going to give you an example. We had quite a complicated laboratory project. It was one of those ones that was designed to win awards. It did have enough money. But on day one, we sat with the client, the architects, and everybody agreed what good would look like at the end. And by having those completely shared goals and by reducing those egos, you do get rid of the arguments, because you do. Look, you cannot help it. You'll disagree if something's in the spec. You'll do things like that. But actually pointing everybody in the same direction from day one is invaluable.
So do you think that modern contracting, there are fewer arguments because of those tools that you're using now?
So if I just go back to the example I gave you of drone technology, you're not going to argue if something was done or wasn't. It's there. It's visual. If you've both agreed the technology that you're going to use, you can get rid of those really basic arguments. And if you agree the data sets you're going to use, and that you share them openly, you can get rid of those. So I do think you can reduce what would, those easy, the disputes that just aren't necessary.
I worked on site in the 90s, and I think I was employed to collect data to underpin an argument, one side of an argument. And I suppose if you can agree that data collection to actually share and collaborate, that all the better.
Yeah,
so,
and a single source of truth. And that's,
Yeah.
and don't get me wrong, sometimes you can argue over agreeing that, but that's probably a better argument to have.
Yeah, well, traditional procurement rules, they quite often punish contractors who invest heavily in digital innovation, perhaps. I don't know. Do commercial contracts need to evolve to reward contractors for trying new things?
I think they are. I think it is down to, and you're right, you want to work with clients that have the same aspirations as you. A lot of our government clients do, a lot of our private clients do. And you can therefore say, we are going to invest in this technology. On this project, it may not have the full rewards, but by the next one it will. So, and it's having those collaborative alliances and long-term relationships. If you're always in one-off relationships, it won't happen. But generally, we don't work at many one-off. It's all about people that we want to work with. They want to work with us. And when you do get a problem, you work it through together. Because let's be honest, it's always grey.
Yeah.
I'd love it was black and white, but it isn't.
Construction is a people business, and we have talked a lot. We continue to talk about skills. What sort of people are you looking for? What civil engineers are you looking for? Should they be able to code? Should they be data scientists? Or should they understand concrete?
I think you've got a blend of everything. You want people who have a level of technical knowledge, but actually, what do I value more? Probably curiosity, listening skills, communication skills. But when you're building a really complex nuclear project, you need people who really understand concrete, who really understand reinforcement, understand those quality sets, but are curious about ways to do it differently or better or safer.
Yeah. I asked you a question earlier about AI, whether it's a career destroyer or a career enhancer. Does it allow your teams to be freed up of the drudgery to get more creative?
Well, I believe so. And it's interesting. Even though we've now introduced data and AI, we've actually got more graduates, undergraduates, and apprentices coming in next year. So
how many?
On next year's intake, I don't know. Right now, we've got about 760 apprentices.
Wow.
Next year's intake will be about 140, I'd have thought. And that's increasing. And the blend between grads and apprentices changes. But yes, some jobs will go, but every time you get technology, the internet, some jobs goes. So you definitely want some skills that are able to do architecture, for example, and I mean in data rather than in building architecture. But I do think we've also got to attract people who've got the right behaviours, the right curiosity, and you can then learn technology.
Because arguably a tech-driven industry is a great hook for this, the talent coming into construction. I mean, do you worry that this over-automation maybe does destroy the craftsmanship that is vital on construction sites?
I don't think so. You are still going to need carpenters. You are still going to need bricklayers. You are still going to need plumbers. This is my belief. However much you automate, however much you do, it may be that some of those jobs move to within a factory, so in slightly different environments. It may be you start introducing robotics for some elements. But then what are the new jobs that will come in, which could be additive, could really play to our strengths? I was really interested on the panel we were just on when someone was saying prompt engineering uses English much more. And we're also always going to have those really one-off projects that are not repeatable designs that really are going to push what we can and can't do, be it a cantilever, be it a carpenter, be it something a carpenter does. So I personally believe construction is an industry worth getting into because it's got jobs for a long time yet.
But this transformation requires leadership. I mean, and I think there's no question that Kier has got some very passionate leadership when it comes to digital transformation. Do you think that the majority of the industry, the construction sector, do you think executives there genuinely understand the scale of the prize?
I think that's for us to ensure it's clear, it is unambiguous, people can see how it is measured, people can check in and check that they're feeling the benefit. And you have key measurables. It's like everything. We're in business.
Yeah.
Don't believe just because I say it. Believe it because I'm proving it to you. I'm showing it to you. And I think there's some really, really good challenge. But it's how you do those key interventions. So, like I mentioned, we did this promptathon with the leaders, so that they can feel it for themselves, and actually it becomes less scary, I suppose.
This is a senior team actually putting prompts into an AI.
In a competition environment. Keep the competition in
who has got the best question, the best prompt, well, I mean, the digital twins and the advanced platforms you're using are only as good as the information being fed into them. Okay. I mean, where does that information break down? Because a lot of the base information is gathered really at the site level, at the bottom end of your structure.
So actually, with the digital twins, an awful lot's done before we start on site. So it's really heavily in the design. And about 7-8 years ago, when I was still out on projects, we were setting up all of the basics to be able to do digital twins well, be it naming, be it people, being it storage. And so actually, a digital twin, when you get on site, is able to check that what you've delivered matches what the design quite easily. And, it's moving to drone technology to do that. It's from, robotics does it. So it's a checking tool rather than relying on human error. You get it right in quite clinical environments before you get onto site.
Yeah. And is there still discussion, debate over who owns the data on a modern collaborative project?
I think you need to establish that very early on, so that it is clear within contractor arrangement who owns the data and how the data is transferred. So I think it's really important that one's set up early.
Well, given that contractors quite often hold very sensitive data for critical national infrastructure, are we doing enough as a sector to protect ourselves against the cybersecurity issues that we've seen an awful lot of recently?
So we employ cyber specialists. We pass our cyber essentials. We work so closely with the government to ensure we always achieve the standards needed for whichever project we're on. We have got a cyber team. We run scenarios. We run trials. Literally we have a cyber call to check what the latest threat ratings are and work really closely with everything that's available in the knowledge that's outside our business to, for example, make sure our patching's in the right time, whatever else it is. But then it's just as important that when our people are having to restart their computer once a week, they understand that's because we're protecting from cyber rather than just being annoying and restarting their computer once a week.
Well, I suppose the other part of that is that you're then handing over a lot of data to your clients. And realistically, you quite often hand over quite sophisticated digital models that local authority clients aren't necessarily able to manage.
I have to say, generally, when we're using digital twins, and we've used it extensively with, say, the MOJ, there has been a learning process, so everyone understands what's handed over, but there can always be more in, making sure what is handed over can immediately get taken into an FM system or something. At the moment, you sort of have to print it out and start again, which isn't that digitally native. An
interesting future landscape ahead. So just to finish off, if we look ahead in the next decade or your next 37 years.
I will have retired by then.
Okay.
There is a proper certainty there.
Well, we'll see. How do you think, Louisa, technologies like generative AI, robotics, automated supply chains, how do you think they will fundamentally redefine the business models that you are used to using today?
And if I had a crystal ball, I could answer that question. The reality is, a year ago, we never heard of the word agent. Now agentics is becoming normal. What I know is if we can embrace getting data right and using prediction, for example, in the safety space, we can drive up standards of safety and in health and well-being. So I see a space where we're able to look after our people even better.
Will you still be a contractor, a builder, or will you be a technology company that manages physical assembly?
What are we now? I suppose, in certain environments, we're probably a technology company. So I believe we are still a contractor and a builder. I believe we are. I think it's a great question. I don't have the answer.
Okay, well, will your margins be any higher?
Oh, I think they should be, yes. But I think that's an industry-wide problem, really appreciating professionalism.
Okay. Well, look, finally, for a mid-sized subcontractor or supplier listening to this, one of your supply chain, who wants perhaps to align with your digital vision, but lacks that multi-million-pound R&D budget, what's the best step they can take today to
work with us? Come and talk to us. We'll work together. We can take you through any of the lessons we've learned. That is where, and it doesn't even have to be mid-sized, any size person. on our supply chain. It's a joint effort, and particularly in the cyberspace, work together to make sure if they're protected, we're protected, and it's a team effort.
Brilliant stuff. Look, thanks, Louisa. Really great to catch up with you here at the UKREiiF event in Leeds. Really interesting set of challenges, and I think the passion that you have got to drive through towards this digital transformation is evident. So thanks so much for sharing your experience, and thanks for joining me on the Infrastructure Podcast today.
Thank you very much.
Absolute pleasure, but sadly that's all we've got time for in the podcast right now, but there's more in the pipeline as we continue to probe the big issues facing the sector. If you haven't done so already, do go and check out the Infrastructure Podcast website, www.infrastructure-podcast.com, where you'll find background information and all the latest podcasts that listen to share. So thanks for joining us. Thanks again to Louisa, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon.